Hi guys. So Jacob Rees-Mogg attempted to humiliate a Liberal Democrat MP from Scotland, which seems to be an interesting trend that the Tories have. I thought it was just really limited to insulting members of the Scottish National Party, but it seems to be anyone from Scotland deserves ridicule from the Tories. So let's hear what they had to say.
Speaker, we have demonstrated in recent weeks that the business of this House can be done from behind a screen, as we do right now, from behind a computer screen, not from behind a screen of perspex, the only purpose of which is to shield the government from scrutiny and the Prime Minister from ridicule. The Leader of the House must think again.
Leader of the House. Mr. Speaker, the point the right honourable gentleman was making about Prime Minister's questions is a fundamentally trivial one and beneath him, and therefore I shall ignore it.
There you go. It's a trivial one. It's a trivial one, and I'm going to ignore it. Yes, of course you're going to ignore it because, I'm sorry to say this, but because he's from Scotland. You have complete disregard for Scottish people. I've seen it on a number of occasions now. You would have more respect if the MP had come from England, but because he's from Scotland, you don't care what he has to say.
And I am very sorry that the right honourable gentleman doesn't think that proper scrutiny of the government is an essential task in a democracy. I think this is an extraordinary position for a former member of a government to take, and a leading figure, if the Liberal Party has leading figures, but a leading figure in the Liberal Party.
They're called the Liberal Democrats, you idiot. Not the Liberal Party. The Liberal Party doesn't exist anymore. They're called the Liberal Democrats.
To take that democratic accountability is fundamental.
Sorry, I just have to raise a point once again. What is it with Jacob Rees-Mogg and members of the front bench not being able to pronounce correctly the names of the parties of the opposition? So the opposite parties, for example, they can't say the Scottish National Party, they have to say the Scottish Nationalists Party, and then they attempt to correct themselves. I've showed videos of this before. And then they can't call them the Liberal Democrats because, well, you know, the Democrats, that's a positive adjective. We can't use that, so we just call them the Liberals, the Liberal Party, even though the Liberal Party doesn't exist anymore.
Fundamental to how our system works. The right honourable gentleman from his area in the Shetland Islands tells us that a remote system doesn't work well enough, and then he says we should nonetheless continue with it. I think we have a duty of members of Parliament to return to doing our work thoroughly and properly and effectively.
Why is Jacob Rees-Mogg so adamant about getting MPs back into Parliament? Well, if you think about it, how well is Boris Johnson doing now that he's on his own, basically? Now, he had his fanboy Matt Hancock about a week ago cheering him on, but it was just the one, and it didn't really work out as well as Boris had hoped. But when Boris is on his own, he's like a frightened child. He needs a full parliament. He needs all his screaming yahoos behind him, cheering him on, giving him a boost, because he's an empty suit. He's a bully. And how do you defeat a bully is you leave them, you attack them when they're on their own, and then they show that they're just a coward. That's what Boris Johnson is. He's a coward and a bully. When he has a screaming parliament behind him, he feels strong. He's able to he attempts to humiliate the other side. But when he's on his own, he's just a frightened child.
And that is what we will do in line with the government advice and the 5 tests and ensuring a safe working environment. And I would reiterate my thanks to Marianne Snarski for what she has done, because people working in the House, the employees of the House, are able to work safely, and the numbers expected to come in is not thought likely to rise significantly when the House returns at
So this idea of, once again, it's about filling up the House, or at least having enough members of parliament in there to support Boris Johnson. This is not about safety of MPs. This is not about maintaining a working parliamentary democracy. This is about protecting Boris Johnson. They have seen, look, Boris is an empty suit. Boris is incapable of responding to the leader of the opposition, Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer is mopping the floor with Boris Johnson. So how does Boris survive without his fans, get his fans back into Parliament? If anyone thinks this is about democracy or about the rule of law or maintaining some form of Parliament as it was before, it's a lie. It's about defending Boris Johnson and therefore defending the Conservative Party. It always was and it always will be. If you disagree with me, I'd like to know why, but as always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks. Why not become a Patreon and enjoy access to our Discord server where we share news, chat, and have some fun? If you become a patron, you can also make video suggestions on topics that are important to you. Check it out via the link in the description.